Did you know that empathy and sympathy are not the same? But many people use empathy and sympathy interchangeably. But there's distant differences between the two actions. So empathy and sympathy, to put it very bluntly, are not the same thing, yet are often confused. Empathy is in both. That's one thing they have in common. To be able, though, to show true empathy and sympathy, it's really important to know the difference between, on one hand, empathy, and on the other one, sympathy. Let's define empathy first. Definition: empathy is a neurologically propelled component of the brain that is cognitively and effectively established, which promotes emotional and social awareness and skills within a person. It's a big definition. Now, the feelings of empathy are neurologically rooted in the human being's anterior insular and subgenual anterior incellate cortex of the brain. Empathy is the capacity to vicariously experience and understand another human being's feelings, which then trigger pro-social behaviors. Empathy involves compassion through a shared experience, and they want to alleviate suffering through, say, a sharing of emotions, and it's one of the motivators of altruism. Sympathy and empathy, let's look at both of those two now together. Often compared with sympathy, which deals with distress at another's plight, and often has, well, condescending overtones, and can be denoted by sense of wishing to see another happier and does not avoid a shared experience. Empathy, though, differs from sympathy as it requires a greater ability to relate to another person, or being able to take his or her perspective. Now, further research into empathy is welcome. So, if you're intrigued by this, why not do it? Empathy and the mind, let's look at those two things. Empathy encompasses cognitive, affective, and behavioral components. There are at least 8 various psychological forms of empathy that a person may feel when hearing of, say, a friend who is about to lose their job, or has, say, something negative happen to them. Examples of this may be of knowing another person's internal emotional feelings, or one can be said to be cognitively empathetic by adopting a facial empathy, or quote unquote a type of motor mimicry. Now, this allows for a person to communicate their shared feelings with another affected person. The ability to show empathy. What is that then? Well, the human brain's intrinsic activities are concerned with the overall relative empathic ability, or the REA. A healthy adult has mature emotional and social cognition, and that progresses their feelings of being socially empathetic to another towards the feelings of being both effectively and cognitively empathetic to others' situations and issues. So being generous in empathetic ways can motivate imitation of other people's behaviors. Yet, there is a huge wide breadth of pro-social conformity in this regard. And it can motivate a person to actively help another person who is in need of help. But conversely, this action may be to take care of a person within, say, a specific group. And in acting empathetically, it may in turn then exclude other people. And therefore, this can threaten the fundamental principles of helping another morally. So, in effect, this begins to explain the complex, yes, very complex, relationship that empathy and morality have. So what of social empathy there? I mentioned that social piece. Well, social empathy involves both static and active empathy. Because static empathy is emotionally understanding in an unsympathetic manner, where a person is coming from within their given situation. Whereas active empathy is doing something about a situation at hand. By showing empathy in a social way, it has positive outcomes on personal development, interpersonal relationships, and the well-being of society at large. So, in defining social empathy then, it's important to have an explicitly multi-dimensional approach to the subject. Author Stolen in 1969 stated that it allows for the observer to react emotionally as they perceive what the other is experiencing. In the same year, Wisp, another author, was commented on by Hogan, not me, but this guy Hogan, noted that the observer must construct for oneself another person's mental status. Now, once constructed, effective or emotive reactions must then be employed. And with yet another author, Balcanes, in mind, Mark M.H. Davis noted that this type of empathy is, quote unquote, broadly defined as a set of constructs having to do with the responses of one individual to the experiences of another. Social empathy can also be defined as the following, quote unquote. Social empathy is the ability to understand people by perceiving or experiencing their life situations, and as a result, gain insight into structural inequalities and disparities. So says Siegel, Wegeman, and Gerdes in 2012. Empathy is both a combination of cognitive and psychological traits that many who work in social work can be in danger of burning out due to the nature of the work. I've seen it. I've been there, and I know people just like that. And the importance, though, of such empathy is, well, pertinent in such a profession and needs to be constantly educated through the use of correct training measures in these professionals' lives. Not just their professional life, but throughout their lives, really. Let's look at growth and developing empathy. Educators in schools who have empathy can teach their behaviour to young people. And this, in turn, aids greater morality. A healthy, developed human brain, you see, is continually socially maturing and continuing to develop the ability to empathize. Now, with experience and emotional maturity, the human brain, your human brain, my human brain, continues to create things called social structures. Self-compassion then and empathy are connected to this thing called mindfulness, which is a basis for stress reduction in the human mind. And empathy and compassion are different, as empathy involves one person experiencing the very same emotion as someone else. Passion are different, as empathy involves one person experiencing the same emotion as someone else, whereas, on the other hand, compassion acts on resilience and well-being in an altruistic fashion. Now, once the differences of empathy and sympathy are better understood, and you can do that after this video, a person then can show both and improve their human connection over the longer term. How about that for your life? So, hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you do, hit that subscribe button and I'll create more. Until next time, have a wonderful day.